So, Daredevil Born Again has me a little confused. I think people are seeing something in this show that I'm just not seeing, and I desperately want to see it. So before I get into my issues with the first two episodes, I want to say two things. One, huge fan of the original show. Season 3 is just a straight up masterpiece. Season 1 still fantastic, and Season 2 rocky at times, but overall still great. And the second thing is that I know we're only 2 episodes in. I'm not judging the whole season off of it, but I gotta judge based off what I see. And early impressions are that it does not feel like the same show. And that's why I said I'm confused, because one of the most common things I've seen about Born Again is people saying, wow, they're picking up right where Season 3 left off. Wow, it feels like the same show. It feels like the same vibe. And after I watched the first 2 episodes, I disagreed with this so strongly that I actually went back and rewatched Season 1, Episode 1 of Daredevil Netflix just to make sure I wasn't crazy. And sure enough, the vibes were extremely different. Everything was extremely different. I'm not going to nitpick the show. I could talk about how the CGI suit and swinging looks bad in some scenes. I could talk about how they expect you to watch a bunch of other Marvel shows that I'm not ever watching. I'm not watching Echo. I'm not watching Hawkeye. Whatever the fuck. I don't care. They expect you to watch that to roughly know what the Cares have been up to. I haven't seen She-Hulk either. I stopped watching the mid-CU shows. I don't care about them anymore after Falcon and the Winter Soldier was so bad. And disappointing, really, but that's a whole other video. I can nitpick. I can make nitpicks like that all day, but let's get at the core of what my issue is. Well, I have a few. First off, the pacing is crazy, and I understand they have a hard task here. In the first episode especially suffers because of this, because in the first episode they have to establish a new status quo with a new cast of characters, bridge it from the other MCU shows, and bridge it from Daredevil Season 3. They had a Herculean, impossible task, and I think they flubbed it. Oh yeah, spoiler warning, by the way. It's going to be damn near impossible to talk about these without spoilers, so consider this your warning. So Foggy dying I don't have a problem with, but just everything happens so fast. The Mayor Fisk arc I thought was going to be the overarching thing of the season based off the trailers, but it actually wrapped up almost freaking immediately. I honestly think that episode 1 was just a mess, and I was so ready to make this video after episode 1 because it was so bad in a lot of ways. And I think that boils down to one chief thing that bothers me so much about the show, and that is the dialogue. The dialogue feels like it's written with no subtlety in mind, no subtext taken into account whatsoever. It's written so that your little brother, who's like 8 years old, can watch the show with you and follow along. There is one scene in episode 2 where this police chief guy or commissioner, who, God bless the actor, he's probably doing his best with what they've been given, but he is not given the performance of his career by any means, has a really on-the-nose conversation with Wilson Fisk, who's just been elected mayor as of the last episode, and he's like, yeah, I'm on to you, Fisk, I see right through you, I know the kind of monster you are, and I'm like, you're just gonna come out and say it. There's no subtext, no subtlety, none of that to be found here. Most of the scenes consist of the characters telling each other exactly what they're thinking, exactly how they feel, without leaving much room for, like, viewer interpretation or just thinking at all. And it really bothers me, because I went back, like I said, I watched Season 1, Episode 1 of the original show. The rest of it, I did a rewatch around 2-ish years ago, so it's a little fuzzy. But yeah, I remember the dialogue being pretty good. On the nose at times, for sure. And comic booky, which isn't a problem, because it's a comic book show. But with this, it was just... it was really distracting. The dialogue was like comically bad. There's one part where this guy, who's kind of the main central driving character of episode 2, jumps in to help somebody who's getting jumped by these two thugs. And he's like, yeah. And they're like, go away, it's not your problem. And he's like, yeah, you're beating on somebody who can't defend himself. It's my problem. I'm like, oh my god, this is eye-rollingly like pedestrian dialogue. Like, it's really freaking distracting. The second thing is, like I said, the pacing is really just breakneck. Episode 1, they had a hard task. Episode 2, it actually does get a little better. And I would say episode 2 shows signs of promise. I think overall I enjoyed episode 2. I just feel like people who say it's on, like, a direct continuation of the original season 3, or, you know, people who say it's on, like, as good as the original, like, no, we're not there yet. But if what people are saying about Reese's is true, we might get there. But of course, we got to talk about the fight scenes as well. And the fight scenes, unfortunately, Like I said, I just got fresh off watching season 1, episode 1, and man, the fight scenes are so peak in Netflix Daredevil that it's very disappointing to come to Born Again and see, like, the initial fight against Poindexter was fine. Also, oh my god. Well, anyway, let me get to that in a second. The initial fight against Poindexter was fine, but after that, there's not too many fight scenes in the first 2 episodes. But when they do happen, they do that style of editing where they do like a million cuts in the same shot, so you can't tell what's happening. If you watch Civil War, Captain America: Civil War, they use that for almost every fight, and it honestly does ruin the movie on rewatch for me. Like I have to like skip the fight scenes. Because it's like, especially whenever Black Panther fights, they're cutting almost every individual hit is a cut, which is something the original show rarely, if ever, did. It prided itself on its long, flowing takes, the hallway fights and what have you, and that's why the initial Poindexter fight is tolerable, but everything after that is a little nauseating. There's a scene at the end of episode 2 where Matt fights two guys. And so many cuts, man. It's impossible to tell what's happening. And that's not the only instance of it. That's just the one that stuck out to me. Oh, God. So, there's that. And then also the fact that, I said I wasn't going to nitpick it, but let me nitpick it a little bit. The fact that anybody who says you could just jump in after Season 3, I jumped in after Season 3. I didn't watch any of the MCU shows. Like I said, I don't care. I'm not watching them. Nothing on this earth could compel me to watch them. I was so confused on why Poindexter is back, why Fisk is out of jail, why Vanessa's here, what everybody's been up to. It's confusing. It's jarring, Where we left Matt in Season 3 and Karen and Foggy, it was a little ambiguous if he was going to even continue being Daredevil, which I know from what little of She-Hulk I've seen he does, but it's just jarring, okay? And like I said, they had an impossible task trying to bridge that many shows. It does feel like, because now Feige's at the helm of this show too, God help us all, it does feel like they're trying a little bit harder to bridge it into the greater MCU. You got references, eye-rollingly badly written references, by the way, where Fisk is like, yeah, I tried to mentor somebody, but it didn't work out. And Matt is like, didn't she shoot you in the face? I'm like, oh my God, man. Like, when they referenced the greater MCU in the original, it wasn't so on the goddamn nose. It was maybe too vague at times, to the point where it's like, if you want to reference it, just reference it. But if this is the alternative, I'll take the vague shit any day of the week. Vincent D'Onofrio, Kingpin, is amazing as always, but they really got him, like, toned up. Like, his voice kind of sounds like this constantly all the time, and he never gets a rest. And, he's doing his best with some kind of rough, like, super on-the-nose lines. One of the worst ones that stuck out to me was, I've had compromise on the mind lately. And I'm just like, this is so much more juvenile than where we were in Season 1. That's really the biggest one and the most distracting one. And one of the ones that I think it stands to improve the most, along with the editing. The cinematography is also just a big downgrade when you compare to Netflix Daredevil. It's shot like an MCU show. Which, Feige at the helm, and now we got guys with mystical amulets running around, which Daredevil has to deal with. It's much closer to the greater MCU. Oh, they did reference Spider-Man as well, which was cool. Fisk is like, we don't need Spider guys helping us. I'm like, let's go. Is he going to show up? He's not going to show up, but it was cool. But yeah. So, yeah, those are the brunt of my issues with it so far. I think that there's a lot of room for improvement, especially because people talk about reshoots and they redid this, redid that, brought people on later in the season. These first 2 episodes were a little rocky, but episode 2 already showing a lot of promise. I like the conceit of episode 2. Oh my God. And that means we got to talk about the characters. I totally forgot about the characters. It's almost a completely new cast of supporting characters, and it's jarring as hell, right? Like, who are these people and where do they come from? Like, one of the opening scenes, we see this new paralegal assistant type talking with Foggy prior to his untimely, and then she becomes she's basically Matt's, as far as the Matt Murdock side of him, the lawyer side, she's his sidekick going forward for these 2 episodes. She works at I guess it's just Murdock now, the Murdock firm. She works with him on these cases, and she's like this supporting character. And then we got Jerry or Cherry, and it's like, dude, this is such a Patrick coming home and being like, who are you people situation. Who are these people? None of them are as interesting or well written as the original supporting cast, and they expect us to just accept that they're like. It kind of feels like you come home And yeah, there's somebody. It's like the episode of Rick and Morty where they have the family members that everybody has the false memories of them, but to us it's just like, who the hell are these people? That's how it feels. Like all the characters in the show are treating them like they've been there all along. They're so important to this, and that. But I'm like, who are you? Who is Jerry or Cherry? Is this? Did I just forget him? I feel bad if I just forgot him, but I don't remember him at all. And this new paralegal chick, again, I'm sorry if I forgot her. It's been a while since I saw season 3. I feel like they should have done a little bit more to reintroduce her. And if she was introduced in one of those Netflix or the MCU shows I haven't seen, then God fucking help us all, man. That's a bad omen for these MCU projects going forward. Too much homework. That's the main thing. On the Fisk side of things, you've got like this teenage dude. So the dialogue is like so on the nose. Like, oh my god. There's so many scenes where people there's a scene, right, where Matt is listening to people's reactions of Fisk winning election. And some of them are like, oh, I hate Fisk, or oh, I love Fisk, yeah, Fisk. Oh. Like, there's one guy who's watching on TV that's like, well, what are you gonna think of Fisk? He's like, I love him. It's like, dude, there's no nuance at all to this shit. They just say exactly how they fucking feel. It's kind of hilarious. There's also these interviews they do where they intercut, they cut to these like street interviews that Ben Urich's niece or whoever is conducting in between shots, and it's just like some of this, like, it really comes down to that dialogue. It's a little rough, bro. It's so on the nose. They're like, yeah, we don't need people like Daredevil. Well, I haven't seen Daredevil in a while, but I don't miss him. You know, the streets are better off without him. Blah blah blah. It's like, dude, oh my god. Let us come to our own goddamn conclusions about it. I hate when shows do this. It feels like they want you to understand how people feel about like the vigilante situation in Hell's Kitchen, but they don't want you to come to your own conclusions about it. They want to tell you to make sure that you're coming to the conclusion they want you to, and it's frustrating. Fisk has this new like teenage like social media influencer type sidekick guy like who's friends with B.B. Urich, and it's just like, oh my god, this guy has some just moan-inducing lines. That like he's first of all he's a Fisk simp, which is sus. Let's get that out of the way. You know, I would say it's surprising that everybody forgave him so easily after the events of season 3, but it's really not. But also because I didn't watch those MCU shows, I don't know what he's been up to since then. Like last I saw him, he was going away to prison forever, and Vanessa was fucked. Now they're just both out and basically business as usual, except for the whole mayor thing. But yeah, some of these political guys they got Fisk teaming up with are just not interesting characters. There's the British guy, no idea where he came from. Again, if he was introduced in Echo or Hawkeye or something, then do a better job establishing him in this show. Because a lot of us didn't watch that crap, alright? A lot of us only care about the good MCU shows, of which there are like 2.5. Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and some of Luke Cage, okay? But, oh god, this teenage sidekick guy, he's friends with B.B. Urich. He has some just groan-inducing lines. He's like, oh, Mr. Fisk, I do it because I believe in you. I believe in your cause and Hell's Kitchen. And oh, my God, man, it's so bad. It's written by, like, a freaking middle schooler. I don't like to hype up my own writing that much, but I think that I can come up with better dialogue. So, Kevin Feige put me in. Anyway, that's my chief complaints. The dialogue, really rough. The editing and pacing, they got to touch it up a little. They're getting there. Episode 2 is a lot better. Episode 1, they had to cram a lot in, so I get it. Some of the individual scenes are fantastic. Anytime Matt and Fisk interact, this is going to be gold. But that they're having our boy say some cornball-ass lines this season. Watch episode 1, you'll see what I mean. It's rough. And the fight scenes, oh my god, dude. If they don't get a lot better, I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish it. Basically, if the quality doesn't go up really high, like, does it, like, shoot up in the coming episodes, I don't know if I'm going to, like, once this White Tiger initial arc is wrapped up, I don't know if I'm going to be able to push through it. Especially because now I rewatched season 1, episode 1 of Daredevil Netflix, and I kind of would just rather rewatch that. Because that has a quality guarantee. I know it's fire. I know that I'm going to like every line of dialogue. I know that every fight scene is going to be fire. With Born Again, it feels like they've got a lot to figure out before the show's in the state. I was hoping it would be initially. But still early, still too early to call. But those are just some of my concerns. So, sorry if this got a little ranty. Sorry if I repeated myself a bit. I just thought it was so funny. There's so many unintentionally funny scenes, which I just absolutely hate because it feels like the kind of thing that, again, in the Netflix Daredevil, if you were laughing at a scene, you were laughing because it was supposed to be funny. if this scene was supposed to invoke a certain emotion, it invoked it well. In this show, there's so many scenes where, because of the bad dialogue and just like weird character writing in general, it's just unintentionally funny. Like episode 1, Foggy's death scene. I should not be laughing during the scene, but the way that Matt just goes and you fucking chucks Poindexter off the roof with no fanfare. The entire fucking season 3 was about Matt being at war with himself about taking a life, even if they deserve, even a life that should be taken, even as somebody who deserves it, like Fisk. He is in agony, just at war with himself over whether or not he should take a life. And in the end, he comes to the conclusion that no, even if he desperately wants to, even if it would be easier, it would compromise who he is, and he'll never do it. First 5 minutes of episode 1, Foggy just got shot by Poindexter, which was a great scene, by the way. Matt fighting Poindexter while hearing, because of his super hearing, Foggy fading away was just beautifully executed. But then it's freaking bookended by him going like, get the fuck out of here, Poindexter. Just chuck him off the roof. And then he splats on the fucking ground with no... Jesus fucking Christ. How is he even back? Did they do the bullseye surgery? Are they going to address that? Maybe they already did it in Echo, bro. I don't know, because I'm not watching it. Also, since we're already way over time, what is up with the portrayal of Matt's super senses in this show? In the original, it was done subtly, and when the scene called for it, it was implemented well. They didn't overdo it. They didn't have him like listening constantly or overkill it. And what that means that in the scenes where he did listen in on specific dialogue, it was done with an intentionality. In this show, the effects are somehow worse on his super hearing, and they do it like every time something happens in the world. We get a scene of Matt just listening in on people's reactions, and their dialogue is literally Oblivion NPC level. Like, whoa, you see what Fisk did? Yeah, let's go, Fisk! Or, oh, Fisk, he's a criminal. He's bad for our city. We gotta get him out of here. Just please watch the scene with the cop commissioner guy. You'll see what I mean. It's so badly acted. No offense to the actor. I'm sure he's doing his best. So badly acted, delivering some terrible lines. But there was the scene that came after that one. That's the one at the graveyard. The scene that you really got to look out for is the scene after that one where Fisk talks to him while eating a Philly cheesesteak and talks to him about Philly cheesesteak. And that was peak. So basically all is forgiven. So yeah, I'm going to watch the rest of the season probably. I do have some concerns going forward. And I think that I've been watching Severance, which is like one of the most well-written shows I've seen in years. So going from that to an MCU show was always going to be a little bit of a little bit jarring, but I figured it's Daredevil, so they're going to lock in. They're going to know what they're doing. They're going to pick up where they left off. No, it's a very different show. Do not come into it expecting Daredevil seasons 4. No matter what the crazy YouTube reviewer types say, it's a very different show. We're starting with a different status quo. An entirely new set of supporting characters. Karen will probably be back. Foggy dead, so who knows? Probably he'll be back in some way. Maybe they'll fucking bust out a Lazarus pit or something, or Doctor Strange magic. Who gives a fuck, man? I am very interested to see where this White Tiger arc goes. If they don't stick the landing on this one, I don't know if I'm going to pull through the rest of the season, unless I hear from reputable sources that it's getting really good. And yeah, that's why I feel like people are seeing something in this show that I'm not. Anyway, 18-minute rant, and I probably spent most of it just saying the same shit over and over. Let's wrap it up for today. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Later.